Cool. Woohoo. Okay, cool. Oh. Oh, well, thank you. You're very sweet. That was very touching. It means a lot because I really look up to you. I really do. And yeah, so I've been doing this, gosh, over 7 years now, full time. And my genre is in the vein of like gothic rock, gothic metal. The fans still are torn on what to call it, but we go we go with both of them. Yeah, so I've been, singer songwriter, mainly doing heavy metal. I play piano, I play harp. Yeah, and the last year, since I joined, I've been working with everyone at SMA, and it's just been a really awesome and interesting journey for sure.
Yeah, and what I love about what you do is that you've really got your own thing happening. Like it's really unique, it's really different, and definitely not mainstream. It's really not. I mean, it has some mainstream-ish appeal in as far as like gothic rock kind of thing goes, but it's not stuff you typically hear on the radio. And I think a lot of people think that sometimes to be successful you have to be mainstream, and that's just what has been drilled into our head. And I thought it would be really cool because you mentioned to me about, well, we kind of have, we both know this, but I don't think a lot of people know this about the idea of becoming just like a micro celebrity in your niche. How do you do that? And then how does that help in a time like this right now where we're in a recession?
Yeah, definitely. We have to kind of accept that right now with the world events. And yeah, man, I fell into the heavy metal world, so more in gothic, and I was really starting to learn about like the subgenres. And you've known me for a long time. My aesthetic has always been very dark. There's been a lot of that culture surrounding it in my life with my appearance, my aesthetic, my lifestyle, all in a very positive way. And I just kind of noticed that, oh, like my little fan group, my super fans, my awesome little fan base. I say little, we're into the thousands. I know that there's thousands, but I really care about them. Um, since everything has been going on, they have been in touch. We've been communicating through the mailing list, really keeping up on one another. And they've been so supportive. And I first, like, of course, when these things happen, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But through this course, I've built the confidence to be like, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a problem solver. Like, we're going to figure this out. So there was the first, I guess, so to say, test run that musicians could get used to was when Bandcamp said, okay, on Friday, we're waiving the revenue fee. Everything that you buy is 100%. And I was like, okay, well, let's just try this. And my fans fell hard into that. And I said, thank you. I'm in the studio right now. Like, this is just helping me so much. So now going forward, I do have a few ideas for just this week because I know that even though everyone has different places in life where they are financially, but I know some of my super fans are doing really good and they want to help me. And I'm willing to be like, okay, well, let's like figure this out, right?
Yeah, and that's super smart. So if we can go into the nitty gritty for a second, like what are you doing right now during this time? Are you running any promotions, any sales? Are you sending emails encouraging people to maybe buy music and merchandise?
Absolutely. So I'm running an advertisement. My favorite like ad is the one where it's like friends of people who follow your page, because
Yes.
that
Yep.
way I know that like usually the birds of a feather flock together type thing, and I know that my fans on my page, their friends are going to be into the same music. So that has been probably in the beginning it was the cold traffic. I know these terms are like not for everyone, but pretty much like the open space that is Facebook, and being like, hey, maybe you'll like me, but I know it's going to be more like it's going to have better results if I'm going for people who are friends that follow my page. So there's that. And then I'm also running a lot of people. I forget that like during the 7 years I've been doing this and in the spotlight, a lot of people just came and they liked my page because they liked my aesthetic and my personality. And I think a good chunk of them don't know my music. So I have like my free songs, which is going like, I trust you, but it was very new territory for me, and it's going better than expected, because now they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know your music was so awesome. They email me back. It's been great. So this week, funny story, they don't know about this yet. Maybe they'll be really excited about it. My vinyls came early, which like,
Lucky you.
and I
That's
was just
another.
like, when it happened, I was like thinking of you. I was like, damn, what is going on here? So
Yeah.
they came early, but they're not. I'm not doing a second launch of merch until May. That's just how my life has worked, doing session work, etc. So I was like, okay, well, I did the math, which you also teach in the course. So thank you, because now I'm much better with simple numbers. And I'm doing a harp album right now. It's like, okay, I need this amount of money, so let's sell this amount of vinyls, but it's going to be limited. I'm going to lock the rest away in storage until May, and I'm going to personally autograph them and sign them and dedicate them to those like 60 people who want them. And I'm going to be like, everything this is going towards my harp album, because like right now with everything going on, like I'm trying to find the funds to do this, because
Right.
let's be real, when this all happened, I was like, woo, March break, I just want to write music. And that's probably one of the better things you can do right now, is just strengthening your relationship with your fans and advancing in your business and writing music. Like, there's no extra little
Yeah.
details that we're all stuck at home, right?
I see it as a huge opportunity for musicians right now to like basically get your crap together. Get it together, right? All the
Yes.
things, yeah, all the things you should be doing and haven't been doing, right? All the things that they've been procrastinating on. Now is the time to get it together. So, man, this is really good. If you had to like pick your top 3 things that are like making the most impact in your music business right now, you're like, every musician needs to be doing these 3 things. What are those 3 things? Sorry to put you on the spot. I'm just throwing this out at you.
No, it's fine. I'm doing my best. I'm like, all right, let's see. Like, my brain's like, how do we communicate this? I'm actually seeing right now, especially in my world of heavy metal and hard rock, the musicians are waking up to how important this is, especially with the live streaming. But I think the most important things you can do is know your micro niche, because that's where you can be like a celebrity in a small market, but
Yes.
that market is strong. Like, those fans are awesome. And I love my fans. Like, they are so much fun. So really get down your genre. Like, so many musicians, and I've just seen this in the past 2 decades I've been in this industry. They're like, oh, I'm not like anyone else. I don't want to put labels on myself.
I'm
and
so
it's
special.
like, oh, it's like, good luck with marketing later. Like, very good luck to you. So there's that. But I also think, building a mailing list has been so critical to my career. And I feel so silly, because I've only been doing this for a year, and you've been like, I've been watching your journey. You've been telling me 5 years prior to that. And I'm like, yeah, I got to tour the world. I'm already established, like, just not necessarily thinking I know it all, but like, that band was extremely, intense. They took a lot of my time and work ethic and to put into them to keep that job. So it was like, okay. But now I'm doing it, and it's like, people love the mailing list. Like, I don't know where these musicians get this idea, like, oh, I'm bugging you, I'm bothering you by sending emails. Like, if anything, I have like fans thanking me, being like, thanks for like emailing me, because like I would have missed this on social media, because there's no guarantee of when you post something on social media, it's going to go missing. And then the other thing, this is like the one, like, it's in the grips of their claws and they won't let it go, but it's like, you can't do everything. So the one of the, and I tell this to, like, I'm part of an accountability group. Hello to them. I know they're watching, my fellow students. I think like having someone as a designer to make your artwork look better, like you get we it's what is it? It's Fiverr in the program, right? Like you say
Oh
like
yeah,
there's a
there's
certain
yeah, Fiverr, Upwork,
yeah.
there's all the different sites out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually I spoil myself and invest a little bit more, and I have a designer and she does everything for me. But having those like stunning visuals, so like when people, especially now with people wanting a distraction with what's going on in the world, they can just
Totally.
fall into your world. Like they look at your
Yes.
page, they're like, oh, I love what this singer or songwriter or instrumentalist is doing. This is beautiful. I'm about the aesthetics. Like they can just fall into your world, and yeah, that's lining it up with your micro niche, obviously. But those are like the three things that I really tell my friends, and anyone else who comes to me and asks about like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, maybe you really start with these.
So yeah, let's like recap that. So it's
Hmm.
really dial in your micro niche. That's how you become that micro celebrity in this sea of the internet. That's how you're
Yes.
standing out. That's how people will find you. And they also become real die hard followers. So you've totally experienced this, right? It's just like, they're not like, oh, I'm kind of a fan. They really are a fan.
I'm tattooed on a few bodies. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Crazy. Yeah.
Tattoos. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wild. Totally wild. Okay.
Still weird, but
Yeah,
cool.
like I haven't had that experience yet. I don't know how. I don't know. That is
I
just
said, give it another year.
yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Uh, dialing in the micro niche. What was the second one? Was get
Mailing
your
list.
email list. Get your email list going. Build that list. Build it. And then the third one was outsource the stuff that you really shouldn't be doing, like
Yeah.
your cover art. Like we can tell that you did it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're taking your time away from the most important things which you need to know, which is like your artist identity and writing your music. Like you can waste hours one night trying to do a video. Why not just pay a little chunk of money and spend those hours writing a new song? That would be
Yeah,
so much more beneficial for your career.
totally.
Or,
Absolutely.
study the course, whatever.
Yeah.
you know.
And, about back to the email list thing, did
Mhm.
you notice like a difference between going from not really having an email list or not really doing too much with that to really focusing on building that thing? Like, what was the difference after you've been building it to a fairly significant number? What's like the top result that you got out of that?
Well, it's just such a direct line of communication with my fans. So, if I didn't have SMA and you, like, I don't even want to think about what my album launch would have looked like in October because it was go mode. I had my small team of awesome friends here helping me at home. We did a lot of it from home. It was great. But of course, I followed the course and I said, okay, like, send out the email. And then when I came back, and I did very well in my launch, like, it was overwhelmingly amazing. I came back and Drip was like, 80% of your sales for your launch came from Drip. And I'm like, okay, yep, this is a big eye opener. Wow. So,
It's
but
really
I
crazy.
love, like, I get inspired. I'm like, hey, I have like 3 sentences I want to tell my fans, and I send it, and they love it. They're like, this is so cool. You don't find this on social media. I'm in a secret club. Like, it's really fun.
It is, and there's so many things you can do to be creative with that mailing list. Like the reason I think people are afraid that they're going to bother people is because they only, as well in the music industry, I think they're used to getting terrible emails from record labels that are just, it's sell, 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 or it's just like it's impersonal. There's no real community or you don't really feel you're just one of it's a mass email, right? You're just one of a million people. And I think the difference in our approach when you're doing direct to consumer style of marketing is building real relationships. That's the
Totally.
difference, right? Between the corporate
Hmm.
and the labels way of doing it and what we do, which is all good internet marketing teaching out there teaches this. And that's
Yeah, absolutely.
building genuine relationships, genuine community, and you do that by being personal, right? So, and one of the things we teach, for example, and we talked in the last live video, is whenever we're writing an email, we're not saying, hey everyone, hey everybody, because it's one person reading it. It's not a group of people reading it. And so by just switching that from, it goes from feeling like a mass email to feeling like something you just wrote for me. And that makes a difference in someone feeling cared about. So those little small details make a difference. At least they have for me and for a lot of people that I know. So that's one thing. Man, there's so much we could talk about. It's crazy, but
We could be here for hours. Yes.
well, yeah, and maybe not a bad idea. But
Why not?
why not? Yeah. Let me see if we've got any questions. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to take a look in the chat here. If you have any questions for Lindsay or myself, let us know, because we'll take a few questions here. We're here to encourage you guys during this time where the entire like global economy has just come to a screeching halt. And out of necessity, right? Like, we're all trying to stay safe. We want to like flatten the curve. We all want this thing to be over with so we can go back to normal life. And I think we're all in agreement with that. We want it to be over with and for people to be safe and healthy. So I think do you sense there's a lot of fear right now in terms of the other artists the bands are they freaking out during this time?
Yeah, unfortunately in heavy metal, a lot of tours got canceled, and I feel for the industry. People who are in crew and management are taking a big hit. Totally. And I really feel for them. And, I see like how some bands are trying to recover. And in some cases, I'm like, well, if your fans aren't getting anything in return, like, good luck. I want it to work out for them. But like some people are like, just give me money. And it's like, well, what? That's not how I learned it. Yeah, they're like, oh, we lost all this money. Give me it. It's like, well, why don't, like, some bands got it right. They're like, I'm going to sell the exclusive tour t-shirt. I'm going to sell off the stuff from tour. We're going to sign it. And I'm like, that is so smart. Like, there are some bands out there that are like, getting up to speed. And I have a lot of respect for that. But yeah, there's a huge fear. And honestly, when this happened, and I think we all go through this. People always think I'm like this like crazy gothic queen who's got it all figured out. It's like, no, I don't. When this happened, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be bad. But then you get through a few days and you're like, actually, this is just going to be fine. Right. And there is the fear, like people are like, oh, I've lost money. I don't know what to do. I'm scrambling. And I'm like, like I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to stay off my Facebook feed and my Twitter feed because, like, people tend to treat social media like this diary where they just put all their fears and da-da-da. And I'm like, I'm going to be over here creating a new album because, like, why not? Because me, for the past year, I have been literally in business mode for a year straight. Totally. Yeah, but people are fearful. But I've been with my student group and I've been in the elite group, and everyone's like, they're killing it. Like, I've noticed actually that the students have been more active and they're like, yeah, I'm home now. Like, I'm going to work on this. Yeah. I'm going to do this. And I love that. And I think that is like the right approach to take right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a time to be creative and really think outside the box. So what was available before is no longer available. We can't just go do the gigs and the tours and stuff. So I think that there's a lot of bands and musicians going, what can we do right now with our online presence? Is there a way that we can, monetize what we do online? And this is where I think the magic happens and where the beauty is because you're forced to paint within the lines. I always talk about like a canvas, a painter painting on a canvas. Before you had an entire wall, right now you have a canvas, and it actually, those boundaries force you to be creative. So, off the top of my head, there's no reason why people still can't do some kind of online performances. A lot of bands they're doing online performances now. I don't know if there are some bands who are even not getting together at all at this point or what they're doing, but at least up until now, I've seen several people doing live streams, some of them for free, some of them maybe are being charged for. There's a variety of things that can be done. Now, that's just on the performance side. There's a whole lot that can be done in terms of non-performance types of activities that can drive revenue. And there's a ton here. I have a couple of questions coming in. Somebody said, any tips on ad copy? Do we need to address the COVID issue? Let me just take one stab at that one for Rebecca. For ad copy, what you want to do is be relevant, but not necessarily, you don't have to necessarily go into the virus stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can just say, hey, if you're looking for new music, for example, are you looking for new music? Assume that people are bored and surfing the internet. I think that's safe to assume. So you can kind of address it from that perspective. As far as addressing your customers or your fans directly, if there are any, let's say, issues regarding supply chains or shipping stuff, that's probably like an email you would want to send out to your list of fans, just letting them know what the situation is. And one thing I've learned, listen, I've had my fair share of things not going right, things out of my control, even in recent days, things where it is not how I wanted it to go, and just feeling like, dang, this is not the experience I wanted my fans to have, and I feel really, really bad about it, and there's nothing I can do. And the key there is communication, just really letting them know, being fully transparent, fully honest, and man, I almost didn't get a single complaint at that point, because they're just like, wow, we feel taken care of. We feel like you're being honest when that is really what matters to us. So anything that's going to affect your music business in terms of shipping or merchandise, anything, just make sure that you're up to date on the facts and the current situation and communicate that to your fans. And I think that they're just going to really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we have a question here from Grace. Obviously, it's all about quality, but what size mailing list would you say is a good size for a record launch? Do you want to talk about a little bit about your launch and what size of list you had?
Sure. Yeah. When I actually, you were asking me about it when we spoke a year ago, and I got into the elite program, and you're like, okay, well, where are you at? I'm like, I know if I collect everything from the past decade, I have about 2K. And you're like, that is amazing. Like, that was something to be celebrated, because I know some people who've literally started from scratch, and I have so much respect for them, but they do it. But you know what? I did it with at the time, it was probably at 2,100, so 2,100, and it went extremely well. And now I'm just teetering below 5,000, which is really exciting.
That's really good. You can do a lot with a list size of 5,000 people. A lot. There's, I mean, when you get up to that, between the 5,000 mark, I feel like you're going to start to see some momentum happen. And then obviously the more you build it, the better results you're going to get. So in my mythology business, my goal when I did my very first launch was to get 1,000 people on my email list. And that's what I did. And I did it, just other way, I've talked about it on the podcast, how I did it. But, so if anybody's not subscribed to that, you definitely want to go back and listen to our archive of tons and tons and tons of information on this. But, now this last recent launch that I did, we do pre-orders, and so they're like little mini launches. I launched to about 4,500 people, and the revenue difference was significant. I think like the first launch we had was like a $3,400 launch day, which I was really thrilled about, considering I was just trying to validate the idea. And this time we did 9,000 or 10,000 on the first day. So that's the difference. Amazing. That's the difference in the list size. That came from email. And and then doing some ads along with it. That's the only difference. Same product, same pictures, similar emails. Difference was list size. And just getting people excited about it beforehand, leading up to it. So I think when you have those skills in place, like, it just goes up from there. So imagine now for your new harp album, when you have a list size closer to 10,000 people, it's going to be dynamo.
Oh man. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, because I usually order just to be safe, because we don't want overstock. I usually order somewhere between for these little smaller launches, because this is a special launch for me. It's not like my full rock album's going to be worked on later this year. It's a different venture for me, which was very inspired by your Ancient Winter thing. I was like, you know what, let's just do something different and see how it goes. And oh man, where was I going? My poor little brain derailed. Usually I order 200 to 300 units, but I have a feeling the more my mailing list grows, I could probably order 500 to 1,000 units, and they will go. Yeah, and I try to make it special, that's something that we musicians really can put our creativity into, is the packaging. We gotta up our game and give our fans something super cool, right?
Totally, that's exactly it. And making it special. People have a hard time, and I get it, trying to figure out, well, this isn't a candle, this isn't a pair of shoes, what do I have to talk about that makes my product so special? The issue is that you're just too close to it. You're close to it, and so it's hard to see what's special about this. But I like to talk about, there's, first of all, is it limited in quantity? Because if it's limited in quantity, there's already something special about it, is that you can't just get it whenever, it's going to run out, right? So you have to reissue it or you have to repress it. And so limited quantity, maybe the limited quantity is in the number of autographed copies, right? And where once it runs out, that's it for the next year or whatever. So you can do limited quantity. Is there a limited design or something where it's just very special for a small amount of fans? Like things that we do in crowdfunding all the time, they can also work outside of crowdfunding. They work for just normal sales. So there's a lot of creativity you can do and have around exclusivity as well. And then you can talk about the features and benefits of the product itself too. Ultimately, I don't think that's why they're not buying the t-shirt because, oh, the fabric is soft and it's pre-shrunk, organic cotton from blah, blah, blah. That's not normally why they're buying it. But you can add those things. Those are things that help sell it. It's just not the primary reason they're selling it. So the reason why these fans are buying is very different from your typical shopping experience that people, go online to find a t-shirt. They're buying from you because it's you. That's part of now, they self-identify with your aesthetic and your culture, right? So now they've made that a part of who they are. And so now they want that experience. They want to represent it. And it's like, so it's a different, you have to really sit there and think about it. It's not intuitive, I would say, to come up with, what's so great about my t-shirt instead of just going to Walmart. It's difficult. And that's why we do what we do, is because it's not the easiest exercise to really think through it. So how have you found ways to get your fans excited about your merchandise? Like, do you talk about the merchandise itself, or do you talk about, like, what sells it in the end for you? Is it because it's limited? Is it the special artwork? What is it?
It's a combination of all those things, but it's also like when I was so excited, I was so proud. Like, as you know, like it took 3 years from beginning until the end to get the album out because of my crazy tour schedule with the old band I worked with. And it was like, oh man, it was so like, it was such a, I guess a birth of a child. I don't know if it's like that, but it was a very blissful moment. So I made like a 10-minute long video saying, like, talking about the songs and the packaging and like all the thought and like the artwork, and they were all about it. They loved it, so I definitely do need to strengthen some areas in that. And I mean, some advice, oh gosh, I feel like I'm giving away all my secrets, is I always try to put myself in the shoes of like I have like quite a few favorite bands, but I think like my top 3 favorite bands ever and how they've done things. And I'm like, okay, so how do they tell me things and I get excited about them? Okay, well, my fans, like, accepting how much your fans love you, it's an exercise, but eventually it happens. It's like, okay, fine. I embrace you. And then just telling them, like, how your favorite artists have told you. It's just it's repeating storytelling. It's really cool. So, I just kind of, like, flip the psychology of everything because we are capable of it. It's just, like, learning it. It takes a little bit of learning and reading and practice, like, just like our instruments.
Absolutely. And on that note, someone's asking, what kind of emails can you send to your mailing list besides promotions and sales? I could take a stab at that, Anissa. We talk about that in our course, but also on the podcast. I mentioned the 3 Ps. These are the categories that I use over and over again. There's personal, promotional, and professional. So personal is like talking about your new cat or talking about the rough time you're going through with your health. I talk about my health frequently because it's something everybody understands. It also explains things like why I'm not touring and stuff. Is because I'm focused on my family, I'm focused on my health. So personal, letting them really in behind the scenes. Promotional is exactly what it sounds like. You're selling something. And, you can send that 20% of the time, no problem. Like maybe more than that, but at least 20% of the time I like to do promotional. And then professional is like music related, behind the scenes, the new music you're working on right now in the studio, all that, band members and things like that. So those are the 3 categories: personal, professional, promotional. Mostly everything fits into that. And then anything besides that is just random. So I hope that helps. Let's see if there's a question I can give you. Let's see. How often should you send your emails? How often are you sending yours?
I send a like exclusive personalized newsletter every month. It's usually at the end of the month, and I just kind of recap what happened that month, and I tell a little story about what's been going on in my world and put some humor into it. And then I, whenever there is promotional, as you know, like a sale going on, I will send about 2 emails a week for over the span of 3 to 4 weeks, depending on what's left, what's going on. Just in case like there's a low stock of something to make sure no one missed it. People usually don't mind getting those emails. And then, like the personal and professional for me are very combined. But I do plan to provide more in the future. It's just, I can't see my photographer and filmographer right now. So we're like making the best of it, but there's plans. So as you know, yeah.
Yeah. How about this one? Matt asked, do you have any concerns about people not wanting to spend money due to lack of work, etc.?
Yeah, and I totally understand that. And it's okay because I always tell them, well, hey, like if you can't, buy anything to help fund my future music and etc., that's okay. But if like I say like, come follow me on Instagram. I do lives there occasionally. Comment on my photos, check out my YouTube videos. I always ask them to just participate on my social media in another way because it's like, if you can't, buy anything right now. I know you want to, but you can't. That's okay. I still value you as a fan. Just be active,
Absolutely. That's a really good answer as well. Got a couple more questions here. We probably won't be able to answer everybody's, otherwise this will be really, really long. I don't want to take up too much of Lindsay's time here. But I will also say, Matt, let me add on to that it is okay. Some people aren't going to be spending right now, but I do think that, so the future's a little bit, everything's uncertain. Nobody knows, but I do know that people are home and they're bored and they are spending some money somewhere. People they just might not be buying big things right now. It's probably more little things that they're okay with. So I think that it's a great time to send them the Bandcamp codes and downloads and things like that. I think that people are still buying. They're not spending as much. So certainly there's some people who have lost jobs, which is awful, so we want to respect that, but some people are still spending, and not everybody's lost their job either. Like there's a lot of people who are still working, they're just working from home. So there's definitely a segment of the population that they're not as affected. And Bastian said, would you start building your email list already, even if you don't have a lot of content yet? Basically only my journey of learning stuff and how I'm working my way towards my dream of creating. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what something that I forget and I have to remind myself all the time is us as creative types. Not a lot of people do creativity full time or embrace their creative side. So they love knowing about your journey as a creative. So even if you've got your mom, your dad, and 5 super fans to start on your mailing list, the fact that you've started and you're putting out a few sentences with some photos and sharing your process, that's kind of how I started building my career from the beginning. Was just, I look back at my posts from 10 years ago and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are so bad. But at least I was sharing. You have to start somewhere. You have to practice. Yeah, it's all practice.
I mean, anything you first start doing is terrible and sucks. I used to be terrified of coming on to doing Facebook Lives. Now I don't even think twice about it. It's so normal. And Grace said, is email list size more valuable than page likes? That would be a hell yes. That would be.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that as far as I'm concerned is mostly just vanity. Email is where it's at because that's your real business right there. Facebook, you have zero control over what they do. Zero control over the algorithms or if they show anything to anyone. The only thing you have control over is what you're paying for. Really? So paid traffic and building your email list. You have control over that. You still have to abide by their rules, but it is the most, they say if you don't have an email list, you don't have a business. That's very typical language in the e-commerce world. And I study a lot of e-commerce. So that's what I live by, and it sure has given me a great ROI. Mm-hmm. Sam says, wow, it's so cool to see you guys doing this together. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah. Do you have a system of amount of posts on your Facebook page you do daily, for example, and same questions for Facebook group? No, I don't really have a system. I'm sorry. I don't have a system. It's just I just try to give people I try to give it attention. And do you have a group, right?
I
Yes,
do.
you do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is that working for you right now?
It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun in there. I mean, everyone's excited and there tends to be quite a bit of spam. And I'm very lucky. One of my fan friends, she takes care of it for me when I can't be there. But we go in and chat, and it's really nice because like sometimes there's just like within the gothic culture, there's things like I can't really share with my boyfriend. I can't really share with my mom. So like
Right.
I just post it in the group and we all laugh at it or we enjoy it or like I show them like everybody loves a good gothic castle. So we just have something to share. But it's been fun. Facebook group is a lot of fun. Like it's really just like a hangout with your friends.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what it should be. It's helping to create culture. And I was just listening to our podcast today with one of the elite students, and she was talking about we have to become. I liked how she put it, culture makers. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that because you're putting your spin on it. There's things that you all have in common together, but then there's your spin on it. There's your stamp that you're kind of making in with the music itself and your own version of things. So that's where we get to really truly be artists, and they get to appreciate it and add to it. And yeah, it's a good community. And I found that those groups work really well during launches. Like they really come together like a street team essentially, and can do some of that groundwork, that legwork, grassroots style.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, this is great. Is there anything else you can talk about in terms of, you mentioned uh, really embracing your fan base right now during this uncertain time, and how are you doing that, and any advice surrounding it?
Well, I think, and I've always known this, like from the time I began, like, fans really look to the artist to provide them entertainment and something to connect to and a sense of release. And being in the band that I was in before with all the touring and the meet and greets, I really just learned to like embrace them. Like it's weird getting affection from someone who isn't like super close to you in your family or anything, right? And then, they're just like, they're so loving and they just love you. And it's like, okay, well, you know what? How about I love you back? And that just strengthens that relationship so much. Like I know like if something really bad happened to me and like I was like, guys, like I need like 5 to 10K right now. Here, I'm selling all this merch at this price. I know my fans like would help me achieve that goal so I could, whatever happens, like knock on wood, I don't want that to happen to me. But I know I just have faith in them because like they're so cool, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, I hope it never comes to anything like that, but knowing that if things got really bad, and also I think you need to be good at receiving. Like, we are consistent givers as artists. Like we're giving our music and art out there to the world, but like receiving, like when a fan's like, oh, I made you a bracelet or I bought you your favorite shampoo or whatever, like just being like, thank you. So just accepting that, like it's hard for some people in the beginning when they're like, oh, I'm not really a celebrity. I'm not like, I guess have some kind of little fame stamp. And then all of a sudden you got these super fans coming at you with all this love. What do? I just say embrace it because like down the road, like I have a super fan from Russia who has been with me since my first band 15 years ago. And then I met him at a show, I think 2 years ago, and we both cried. It was just a beautiful moment because I've kept contact with that person for 15
Wow,
years. Yeah, it was
crazy.
amazing.
That
Yeah.
is amazing, man. So you know, this has been wonderful, and I just want to leave everything off on a note where, how would you encourage people who have been procrastinating on getting their online music business really going? They've seen Savvy Musician Academy, or maybe they are one of our students. They bought one of our other programs, but they're not in Elite, for example, or the Superfan system. Like, what would you say to those people who just don't have it together yet, and they're just like, what am I supposed to do with all my time, and like, how do I navigate this uncertain time?
I think it's more so fear based. And it's also because for so long, in a lot of the genres, people have given up their career to a record label and managers. And like, because they want to just focus all their time on creating art. But I'm here to say times have changed. And if your art really matters to you, you can take the business side into your own hands and you can do it very successfully. And I won't lie, like, I mean, I've known you forever and I know you're a very honest person, and I've watched you build this school from the ground up, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I know it's working because it's worked for you. You've been like the guinea pig since day one. You know, you've done so much legwork to provide this system for musicians. It's amazing. And I say, like, listen, like, I've been through the ins and out in every corner and of this industry. And I know when someone is scamming me, and this school is like, it's not a scam. I hate when I see those comments. This is like the best thing, especially now with what's going on. We all have to be stuck at home. Like, this is the best thing you can do for your career. I'm grateful I started a year ago. Like, there's days where I'm like, well, I should have started 5 years ago, but you know, you have to just cut your losses and keep moving forward, right? You have to focus on the future. But it's been one of the best things that's ever happened to me, better than a record deal. I'm going to be real. Like, I've seen record deals and what they do to some bands, and it's like, or artists, and it's like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Wow. Yeah. And that's, I mean, you've had offers, I've had offers, and at the end of the day, you're looking at it going, there's nothing you can do for me really that I can't do for myself, and probably better. Yeah. Sure, they have contacts. Yes, they have, you know, doors to certain venues and you know,
lots of stuff.
Sure they do. But at the end of the day, is it really worth it? Is it worth giving up all that freedom? You know, and so it's more responsibility. I am never going to sugarcoat that. I will never sugarcoat people and try to make it sound like it's less work than it is. And not only is it more work, but it takes time. You know, it takes time. It's not an overnight thing. And anybody who's ever thinking that we claim, or anybody's claiming that this is some kind of get rich quick, is in for a surprise, because it is the last, it's, you know, I call it a get comfortable slow program because it's like you couldn't be further more opposite than get rich quick, because it is a long process. But it's like you said, if your art matters to you, this is what you want to do. Even if it's on the side or full-time, whatever, this is what it takes. This is how it needs to be done now. It means taking full ownership, full responsibility of your own results, good, bad, or ugly, building that email list, build your audience, know your niche, sell stuff, launch albums, do it all over again 10 times and until you die. It's going to, I mean...
I'm down for that.
Yeah, like, this is it, right? Like, we're going to be the little old ladies, like, making music when we're all, like, decrepit and hunchbacked with, like, silver, like, purple hair because we use a purple shampoo.
Yes, I can't wait. It's going to be so good.
Yes.
Yeah, and one thing I will say is, like, something that people don't realize is, like, yeah, things can go viral. But if you all of a sudden have, like, all that traffic and all that money and all that, you know what I mean, vanity and value, you won't know what to do with it. If you get that huge abundance right away, building your abundance over time, it gives you gratitude. It makes you humble. Like, and like you said, when we had a phone call a year ago and you got me into Elite, you were like, you are going to feel so liberated. You are going to feel so good because you own your career. And like, listen, I am like, I'm in a place now where I'm just like, oh, I'm stuck at home. I can't tour. Oh no. Like, I don't care that I can't tour because I'm still actually getting orders. Like, so people are still trusting the postal system and my shop's still getting orders. And I'm like, thank you. I can eat today. I appreciate you. You know, so it's been incredible. Really. It has been.
Yeah. And like, you treat it like a small business, right? Where it's like, hey, every order, we actually do a little happy dance over that. It's personal.
Me too.
It's no different than like owning a little coffee shop or something, or an Etsy shop where people buy something. You're like, thank you for that. Thank you for putting your trust in me. Thank you for supporting this art. And there's a real camaraderie between yourself and your patrons. And it just warms my heart to hear this.
Yeah.
And for everybody who is experiencing this. And it's not easy. It's not easy, guys. The road is not easy, but it is worth it. That's, you know, as cliched as it sounds, that's the truth. So, man, I want to thank you for coming on here and just encouraging everyone. We're going to try to do these lives as often as we can during this time to support everybody and just let them know that we're here. We're all in the same boat together. We can get through this. Not only will we survive through this crisis, we will thrive. And that's the thing. You know, there's so many things you can do online right now in your music career to build your audience, build your music career, and actually even make consistent sales during this time. So That's what I want to encourage everybody. If you're interested in the program Lindsay is talking about that she's been in and that I've put together, it's our advanced program. We have a couple flagship programs. Our advanced program, you can go check that out at getsuperfans.com for more information. So we love you, and I love you, Lindsay. You're just so dear to me. And yeah, you're just great, and I just want to thank you. So if there's any last words you want to say, then we'll part there.
Wow. Well, what can I say? Like, I love being part of the program. I'm excited for my future. You've also made me, I want to say thank you. You really got me thinking more about business, but in such a way that I never thought I could educate myself in, and it's been really liberating in that sense too. Business is fun. Like, artists have to stop being scared of business. Business is fun, especially when you're a creative type. So thank you. I'm definitely more forward thinking in business and building a legacy, because it's not really about you. It's how many people you can touch with your art, right?
Somebody tweet that, please. Somebody tweet that. That's great.
I'll go tweet it after this live stream.
Sounds good. I love it. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging in here. We will see you again very shortly. Make sure you turn on your notifications on the page so that you get notified when we do these lives again. So we'll have Lindsay back for sure, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.